Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and I'm sticking with the scam series this week because it is important that you understand what kinds of scams out there are affecting people. I know I've been affected by some scams as well, like identity theft, especially when individuals they actually took money out of my account when I was actually pumping air in my tire. And the people who took my account charged about $104 worth of pizza. Yes, $104 worth of pizza on my credit card a while back. And guess where the scam originated from? In the state of Kansas. $104 worth of pizza. Now, tonight, I'm going to talk about tax refund scams. Yes, when tax season comes, it can be very, very nerve wracking. You see all these commercials about buying cars with income tax. But what's not really spoken for is how many calls do you get? You have individuals impersonating police officers. Now, let me tell you something about the IRS. It's an agency. They go over your taxes, but the IRS does not call you. If you are getting calls from the IRS, they're scam calls. Now, one thing you must understand is if anybody is impersonating any type of FBI agent, police officer, that's illegal as well. But let's go back to income tax. Even with income tax, can you go to jail for tax evasion? Absolutely. But I will tell you this, when it comes to income taxes, we're not a debtor's prison. Yes, you have to pay your taxes, but the IRS is just another agency. Do they make mistakes? Absolutely. But see, this isn't about the IRS. This is about regular individuals like you and me who are actually trying to make money for ourselves by scamming people who are ignorant. Now, let me share my screen and let's talk about these scams here. And when it comes to fraud awareness, a lot of us need to learn about it. Now, I can tell you one thing. The tax season can be a stressful time of year. Why? Because scammers are always on the lookout to take advantage of people's vulnerability during this period. Now, one of the most common scams during the tax season is the tax refund scam. Just as I explained to you earlier, the reason why it's common is because scammers are impersonating the IRS, which the IRS is the Internal Revenue Service, and sending text messages about rebate and refund payment. Again, let that register in your mind for a moment. Scammers are impersonating the IRS, or the Internal Revenue Service. And what they're doing, they're sending out text messages about a tax rebate or refund payment. Now, these messages can seem legitimate and convincing, leading unsuspecting people to fall for the scam. Now, I'll tell you, it is important to be aware of these scams and take steps to protect yourself from becoming a victim. Now, during this video, I'm going to explain to you how the tax refund scams work, how to recognize them. and what you need to do when you encounter one. So, without any further ado, let's go over the first part: how tax refund scams work. Because you can't solve the problem if you don't know what the problem is. So, basically, how the scams work, they typically begin with a text message or an email that appears to come from the IRS. Now, the message will typically claim that you're eligible for a tax rebate or a refund payment and will provide a link to a website where you can claim your money. Now, when it comes to these websites, the scammers are very clever because they can make the website look legitimate with official IRS logos and branding, but it's actually a fake site designed to steal your personal information. Now, here's where it gets sticky because when you click the link, you'll be taken to a website that looks like the real IRS site. And you'll be asked to enter your personal information, such as your name, social security number, and bank account information. Now, once you enter this information, the scammers will use it to steal your identity and your money. As I said in previous videos, never give out any information. Even if companies like Google and Facebook are sending you information about settlements, be sure it's legitimate. Because what can deem legitimate is actually fake. Now, with all that being said, how do you really recognize these scams? Well, there's several ways to recognize tax refund scams. First, you should be wary of any unsolicited text messages or emails claiming to be from the IRS. Now, I say that because number one, the IRS never calls you, the IRS never emails you or texts you. Now, the IRS, they may send you letters in the mail. So, if you are getting any type of message from the IRS other than a letter, disregard it because it's fake. Now, again, the IRS will never contact you via email, text message about a tax rebate or any refund payment. The IRS will always start by sending you a letter in the mail, just as I explained. Secondly, you should be suspicious of any websites that ask you to enter personal information because the IRS will never ask you to enter your personal information on a website to claim a tax refund or rebate. If you're unsure whether the website is legitimate, you can always visit the official IRS website and search for information about tax refunds or rebates. Have to do a little work, a little research itself. Again, hackers, scammers are clever these days. They can use Photoshop. They can actually build websites that look similar to the IRS websites. And they can steal the IRS logos to create websites that are identical to the official IRS websites. But there's something that is going to be different: the links. Because what they're trying to do is get you to give them all your information so they can steal your money and your identity. This is why it's always important never to give out your social security number. Now, third, you should be wary of any website that asks you to pay a fee to claim your tax refund or rebate. Because the IRS will never ask you to pay a fee to claim a tax refund or rebate. So if a website asks you to pay a fee, it's a scam. Now, with all that being said, you put everything together. What do you do if you encounter a tax refund scam? Well, there are several things you can do. First, when it comes to any link, never click on any links in unsolicited text messages or emails claiming to be from the IRS. If you receive a text message or email claiming to be from the IRS, do not respond or click on any links. That's phishing, P-H-I-S-I-N-G. Secondly, you should report the scam to the IRS. I guarantee the IRS knows these scams go on themselves. Now, you can do this by forwarding the text message or email. I'm going to give you the actual email if you encounter a scam to the IRS. It is phishing@irs.gov. And the phishing is P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G. P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G@irs.gov. Correction, I spelled phishing incorrectly the first time. So I'm giving it to you correctly again. Phishing, P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G@irs.gov. And what happens when you send that information to phishing@irs.gov, the IRS will investigate the scam and take action to shut down the website if it is found to be fraudulent. Third, if you clicked on a link and entered your personal information, you should file a report with the FTC. Now, the FTC is the Federal Trade Commission, and they also have an email, which would be ftc@identitytheft.gov. Once again, that's ftc@identitytheft.gov. And when you file the information after you clicked on the site to the FTC, they will provide you with a customized recovery plan based on the information you shared. And finally, you should tell others about the scam to help prevent them from becoming victims. You can report the scam to the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. Keep in mind, the best way to protect yourself from tax refund scams is to be vigilant and take steps to protect your personal information. Always question things first, and if it doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. Now, what I'm going to do, I like to put everything into action, and I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going a few videos here. And let's check this video out on how to suspect or how to spot scammers. This is an important one.
If you don't pay up, but those calls are on the uptick during tax season. There are also calls, texts, and emails from tax refund robbers trying to file taxes in your name and steal your refund.
This is not me.
Lincoln Park resident Maxine Scott was surprised to receive this letter from the IRS, alerting her that a tax refund was filed in her name. She knows it wasn't her because Scott hasn't filed taxes due to her income status.
I'm worried about if those people get that money, then I'm gonna have to pay it back.
With the help of her cousin, they're trying to resolve the issue with the IRS.
You told the IRS it wasn't her that filed. Yes, so they did have a section on the website that asked us explicitly, did you file taxes? And we were able to tell them that no, it was not us.
Scott isn't sure how the thieves got her personal information, but experts say criminals are ramping up phishing attacks in order to file taxes in your name. They're sending texts and emails with bogus links, even making calls pretending to be the IRS, asking for your social security number, date of birth, and more.
The best thing you can do is, if you're unsure, even if you're even slightly unsure if a call is legitimate or not, is to not give out any personal information.
Most phone carriers like T-Mobile have programs and tech which you can opt into that may block numbers from bad actors. The technology weeds out suspicious calls.
When that scam call hits our network, it will be blocked at that level and won't even go to your phone.
You should also watch out for calls from numbers that share the first 6 digits of your phone number. Or it could even be your entire number cloned. Experts say these spoofed numbers are designed to fool people into picking up what looks like a familiar number.
If we see lots of outbound calls coming from a specific number, but no one answering or no numbers going back to that, that's another sign that someone is probably trying to scam customers.
Some of those callers may also threaten a phony arrest and demand immediate payment via gift card or cryptocurrency.
If you're not sure if the caller is in fact a legitimate IRS agent, ask for their badge number and ask for a callback number, and they'll provide that for you.
Tax preparers are also on the alert, watching out for fraudsters who could be filing in other people's names.
You have to be very careful when filing someone's taxes now, because they can send you all of somebody else's information and give you their bank information and file their taxes.
Maxine Scott and her cousin used the IRS's website to upload proof of who she is and that she did not file that 2021 tax refund. She's waiting on confirmation from the IRS. In the meantime, they're worried that criminals who stole her identity could do even more damage.
At this point, it sounds like someone does have her name and personal identification.
If you are a victim of identity theft, you should freeze your credit with all 3 credit bureaus and file a detailed police report. If you are a victim of a tax scam, also file a report at irs.gov. We have more tax scam resources on our website, abc7chicago.com.
Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to our ABC7 Chicago YouTube channel.
Again, everything that I mentioned, when it comes to income tax fraud, don't give out your information. Don't give out your information. All right, fair use, bear with me again as I share my screen. As we get more into income tax fraud scams. All right, here we go. I showed you what to do when you have a scam. Now, we're going to take you out to how $9 billion has been paid out to Californians, and how individual thieves are cashing in. Fair use. Let's
More than $9 billion has been paid out to Californians in the form of the middle-class tax refund.
But thieves are cashing in, too. On your side's Christine Lazar is here now to explain. Leave it to the thieves to figure out a way, right?
I mean, when there's money to be had, whether it be unemployment or disability, when they see that money there, EBT, we've done stories about that,
Yeah,
they find a way to get it.
Ugh.
So we just have to be smarter than the criminals.
Absolutely.
Now, we've received emails from viewers who say they went to use that middle-class refund debit card only to find that thieves got to it first. And security experts say it's just not that hard to do.
This credit card came, return address in Omaha, Nebraska, a bank out of New York.
Kathy Taronis almost trashed her middle-class tax refund, thinking it was junk mail.
We were expecting a direct deposit because our previous had gone directly into our bank accounts.
Once she realized what it was, she activated it and created a PIN. A few days later, she went to use it to buy gift cards for Christmas.
He said, "Ma'am, I'm really sorry. There was $1.98 on the card."
Taronis went online to check her balance and found the card had been drained. About $700 spent 15 miles away at Big Lots and Taco Bell.
They obviously didn't have my PIN number because the card was never out of my possession.
So how do thieves do it? Cybersecurity expert Haywood Talcove.
The cards between the time they leave the facility to the time they get to the individual, there's some nefarious group getting in there.
Talcove says it's pretty easy to do if the debit card doesn't have a chip. The state franchise tax board tells us due to supply chain issues with chipped cards, magnetic stripped cards were also sent out.
And because it's not chip enabled, there's zero security.
Talcove shared with us screenshots from the dark web where thieves are bragging about six-figure amounts hitting their bank accounts. But there are steps consumers can take to minimize their fraud risk. Once you activate the card, use it immediately or have it transferred directly to your bank account. As for Taronis and her husband, both retirees, they're now waiting on a fraud investigation and hoping to get their money back.
So $700 would really help us out, but unfortunately, someone else had other plans.
Now, security experts tell me that thieves stealing this money are likely the same criminals who got billions from our unemployment system during the pandemic. The Franchise Tax Board did assure us that at this time, fraud levels are low, less than 1%, but security experts tell me they expect that number to rise, just as we saw with unemployment.
And it just makes you mad. The process of getting it back is such a nightmare.
Really hard.
A lot of people just let it go. Right?
Yeah, so the bank issuing those cards is who does the investigation, not our own Franchise Tax Board, and it could take up to 90 days.
Yeah, just as
And
like
if you
when
need
your
that
wallet's
money.
stolen or anything, it takes forever.
Yes. And one of the things we learned with unemployment in the beginning, Bank of America was just like rejecting all of these claims. And so people were just being told, sorry, you don't get your money back, even though they're like, I swear I did not do this. So we'll see what happens here.
Christine, thank you.
You know, another thing too, you just saw, before I go on, just saw a couple of videos. You just saw one on how to prevent the scam, and you saw the second video on how the scam works. Now, I've always been an advocate of doing my own income taxes. Now, there's TurboTax and H&R Block and Jackson Hewitt. You can do a lot of your taxes online. Now, something else you have to understand, you have to make sure that some of these places, I know Liberty Tax is very big too. You have to make sure that some of these places where you can get your taxes done are legitimate, because you got some that don't look legitimate. Now, I say this as well because when it comes to income taxes, you get people who they get desperate, particularly in the wintertime, because that's the first time you can file your taxes, generally in January. After Christmas, those big holidays are gone. Some people are left with no money. So in the middle of January, they start sending out W-2s. This is when you can file your taxes electronically. Now, of course, some might not have the ability to file their taxes electronically, but the scams come in place because there are individuals out there, believe it or not. You know, just like me, I could be queuing in my computer right now and somebody could be watching my fingers. You have people who do that. So a lot of these scams take place. That's why they tell you when you get passwords, make sure you get a mixture of characters, uppercase, lowercase, and numbers. Don't make your password part of your name. But get something that you can remember. And the biggest thing you must understand is, and this is going to be repetitious during the scam series, your social security number and your personal information. Because your address, they can find your address as well, but they can find everything through your social security number. Again, even if you're going to get a settlement from Google or a settlement from Facebook, beware of giving them information like your phone number. So if you give them your phone number as well, this is when you're going to get a lot of the scam calls. And just like I mentioned before, the IRS does not send text messages or emails when it comes to tax refunds or tax payments. Also, the IRS never calls you. Second of all, we're not a debtor's prison. So you have individuals who are threatening to arrest you because they're telling you that there's been a problem with your tax refund or you didn't pay your taxes. First of all, police officers cannot arrest you for not paying your income taxes. Also, when it comes to individuals impersonating police officers, let's use a little bit of common sense here. Now, you know the IRS is not open during the weekend. Now, I've had calls. I've had more than one call, at least 2 calls a day, one time, from somebody posing that he is Officer Williams something. And I had simply told him that, what's your badge number? Where are you calling from? See, he didn't tell me where he was calling from. But see, I knew he wasn't calling from my jurisdiction because the number, again, was out of state. Now, this is when I lived in Pennsylvania. It told me, well, this is the Pennsylvania State Police. And I simply looked at the phone number. I said, well, why are you calling from Maryland? Unless you have a Maryland cell phone number and living in Maryland. Now, some may have an out-of-state phone number. I'll give them that. But I'm also going to look at the simple fact that an officer is not going to give me a personal call. In fact, I've never even gotten a call from a police station about anything. So that way, I knew something was up. Second of all, I do my own taxes. Now, whatever I don't know, I have an accountant that I can ask. And see, an accountant, when they do your taxes for you as well, they have a license. And that license number is registered with the state that they reside in or practice in. I'm going to say practicing because when they take their CPA, they're given the license number. And if they do something that's unethical, they can lose that license. But again, when it comes to income tax scams, some other scams that are part of income tax scams that you might not understand is this. Look at your television and see how many automobile commercials they have about buying an automobile. See, you can take your tax fund and use on a down payment for a car. Now, you have to watch some of these car lots out as well. Do they have certified vehicles? Because You have a bunch of people that are trying to get your tax money. And generally, a lot of these car dealers that want you to use your tax money, they're not the most reputable car dealers. You see what I'm doing here? I'm telling you that you have individuals out here that lay out a pretty picture. But if you peel back every layer of that onion, it's ugly. It's deception. And I can tell you, as good as this country is, there's a lot of deception that goes on with this country. And income tax fraud is no different. You look at something that seems to be true. If it seems to be true, you have to question yourself because it's not good. Bottom line is, you have individuals trying to make a dollar the easy way. Income tax is no different. You have individuals who have lost a lot of money because they got their identity stolen. In videos like this, I give you my interpretation, then I go back and back it up with something. Because generally what you see in the videos, I've already stated. But here, when it comes to scams, taxes are another version. See, there's scams all around you. But when it comes to income taxes, that's when the scam gets as real as it can get because there's money involved. Now, again, rule number one is never give out your information. Because again, you think about it, if individuals, they're trying to steal your identity, and once they steal your identity, they're going to steal your money. I mean, one must understand with all the technology out here, the criminals, they've even gotten smarter. They've learned how to operate the technology better than a lot of us have. That's why companies hire hackers. Number one, so that company doesn't get hacked. But again, going back to the IRS is an agency, but they never call you. Number two, the IRS is never going to send an officer out to arrest you. And this should be the big thing that should register in your head. We're not a debtor's prison. So if you hear somebody that's telling you that they're going to arrest you, ignore it. But you can always get them for impersonating a police officer. And if anything that I'm not saying isn't correct, check with the IRS yourself and check with an attorney. Because in the end, you live one time. And when it comes to tax season, if you pay taxes and you get a refund, that refund is yours and nobody else's. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, just comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some STEM content, you check out the QCIS channel. On that channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And if you cannot find the 411 Talk Zone radio show or the QCIS channel on YouTube, you check both of those channels out on Twitter. Now, for the QCIS channel, I take it one step further because it is an educational channel. You can also find that channel on my LinkedIn page. Because in the end, be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.